Introduce our moderator, a good friend and colleague, Captain Steve Brown.
Thank you. Good morning. Before I start, can I just check if you in the back can hear me? I'm glad to hear that. The last time I spoke here, I asked that question. The people in the back said no, and then the people in the front all got up and walked to the back of the room, so I'm glad that you can hear. Welcome to Cal Maritime. I hope you're enjoying the conference so far. I've been very impressed with the quality of all the presentations I've heard. They've been very helpful. I am the moderator of Session 4, which is on education and training. And we've heard multiple times in the last 2 days, many people up on the stage and from the audience have emphasized the importance of education and training in e-navigation, and I wholeheartedly agree. This is a split session, so we're going to have one of our speakers now before lunch, and then we're going to have a lunch break, and then we're going to have 3 speakers after lunch. President Cropper mentioned yesterday that this is by no means the first time a new technology has been introduced into the maritime industry. In the last century and recent decades, we've seen radar be introduced, VHF radio, ARPA, AIS, and electronic charts. It didn't take very long, unfortunately, before we created a new language such as radar-assisted collision, ECDIS-assisted grounding, AIS-assisted collision. And it was quickly apparent to us that we needed to not only introduce this technology, but we needed to train mariners on its proper use and how to integrate that technology as information in their decision-making processes. Hopefully, we'll have learned that lesson so that as we are working to develop e-navigation, the technology and the concepts of e-navigation, at the same time, we will be putting a lot of thought, care into the education in that technology that will be necessary for e-navigation to be truly a success. As a state maritime academy, we face many challenges. One of the challenges that we don't have in e-navigation is to convince our cadets to embrace this new technology. Our cadets love technology. This was driven home to me a couple of years ago. I was teaching an introduction to navigation class, and I had a 50-minute lecture on how to use the tide tables in order to calculate the height of tide at any time. And about 15 minutes into the lecture, there's a hand that went up and said, "Captain Brown, while you were talking, I downloaded a free app on my phone, and I now have the instantaneous tide data for 9,000 ports worldwide. Why do we have to spend all of this time learning how to calculate the height of tide on that book?" Of course, I gave the standard answer, what if your phone gets dropped overboard? And then the cadet said, well, I'd ask for the second mate's phone. He's got one too. What if the second mate's phone went into overboard? Well, I'd look on the ECDIS because they can get the height of tide from the ECDIS as well. So what if the ECDIS went overboard? Well, and then, of course, when you have these conversations with cadets, you always have to revert to the only answer that they understand, which is if you don't learn how to do it by paper the old-fashioned way, you won't pass your mate's exam. Okay? You cannot get your Coast Guard license unless you know how to do it the way that I used to do it. Okay? It's the same way for celestial navigation. They say, why do we have to take a 4-unit class in celestial navigation and do a 2-month project on cruise when ships don't even carry sextants anymore? And so now I just revert to the standard answer, because you can't pass your Coast Guard exam unless you know how to do celestial. So I spend 2 hours or so teaching them how to use the Rude Starfinder, and then I go take them out at night and watch them struggle with the thing, and then eventually someone will get their smartphone out and get up Google Sky Map and point it at wave it around at the stars, and they see exactly what they're looking at. And then they spend 2 hours working on this problem, and then they, after they finally fix their position using Celestial, they get out their phone and bring up GPS and see where we actually are and hope that we're within a mile or two of what they got. So they are ready to embrace this technology. Our challenge, of course, as maritime educators is to show them the right way to use it as part of the decision process and in order to keep their ship safe and to get to their destination and to remember that it's not the only part. They still need to look out the window. So we do have some challenges, though, in maritime education. We have many bosses. The international organizations, the federal government, the state governments, our regional accreditors all tell us what we need to teach and how we need to teach it. And in many ways, many times those conflict. So, for example, this year, the federal government told us we need to teach a new class, VPDSD, Vessel Personnel with Designated Security Duties. Okay? So we continually get added requirements. At the same time, our state government, with the goal of reducing costs and reducing time to graduation, increasing graduation rates, they have passed a new regulation that says bachelor's degrees shall have only 120 credits required in order to graduate, where our marine transportation students have to take 159 credits, 25% more than the state mandate. So, what are we going to not teach in order to meet the state requirement? Should we cut out unimportant topics like math and physics? Or should we get rid of celestial navigation, for example? Well, fortunately, though we do have to, we compromised with the California State University, and we don't have to get all the way down to 120, but we have to do something less than 159, so we have to cut something. Though we don't have to cut much, it is almost impossible for us to add anything. We certainly can't go above what we're doing now. So when we think about educating for e-navigation, it's not just a decision about what are we going to start to teach. There's a parallel decision of what are we going to stop teaching. What are we teaching now that we will no longer teach because we cannot increase from what we are doing now. So as you, the decision makers in e-navigation, as you are deciding the future of education and training in e-navigation, you please also consider that most maritime training institutions will have to cut back on something else. So it would be very helpful for us that as you add, you also subtract some of the other stuff that perhaps we don't really need to do in the 21st century. If you don't decide as a body, we are going to have to decide ourselves, and you might not like what we decide no longer to teach. One of the other issues is a lack of resources. Now, I just said we can't really add anything. Having said that, we actually have been teaching an e-navigation course for 3 or 4 years. It's been an experimental course funded by a small grant from the Nippon Foundation. And we taught this class after hours at night. The faculty, we didn't draw a salary. The students were volunteers, and we had quite a number of students every time that we've taught. And it's been a great experience for a small number of students. Not everyone currently has taken this. And out of that class, we've produced a model course for e-navigation. Perhaps it's not a model course that will be universally accepted because e-navigation is still a concept in flux. But the process of deciding, of exploring how we can remain, how we can get on the cutting edge of e-navigation, education, and training was very enlightening for all of those involved. Part of what has enabled us at Cal Maritime to be a part of e-navigation, education, and training so far has been that small grant we received from the Nippon Foundation. Eric Holder was part of that, as well as several of our faculty members. Also, through a generous donation, Sam Pacoda has been appointed as the Distinguished Professor of Marine Transportation and Endowed Chair, which lets him have a little bit of a break from his teaching load and gives him some extra funds to support his research and development. And these are actually small investments in money, but they can result in big dividends because they enable faculty to do what we already love to do, which is to engage our students in the future of navigation and to prepare the next generations of leaders in the maritime industry. So as you, the decision makers, consider the future of education and training in e-navigation, please involve the maritime academies and all levels of maritime education and training, as well as maritime academies not just in North America and in Europe, but also in the developing world as well, because if we are going to work effectively in a well-thought-out, well-structured e-navigation education and training, we all need to have a voice at the table. Well, I have the privilege, as I said, of moderating the education and training session, and I now have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker. When I agreed to introduce this session, I was given very clear instructions. I could only speak for 10 minutes, already blew that, and I cannot give any biographic information on the speakers. Well, I'm going to violate both of those because I'm going to give a little bit of biographic information for our speaker, Cadet Madeline Wolchko. Madeline is finishing her junior year, her third year at California Maritime Academy. She is a Marine Transportation cadet, a deck cadet. In 3 weeks, she'll be on her senior cruise on the training ship Golden Bear. She's an outstanding student, near the top of her class. She's one of the senior leaders in the Corps of Cadets. She has been appointed as the company commander of our deck company. She teaches sailing on campus. And last month, she won the Cal Maritime Talent Show with a beautiful rendition of U2's With or Without You. And in the process, she made me feel very old because she introduced the song as an oldie but goodie. That's one of my favorite songs. It's not that old. And one piece of trivia is that before coming to Cal Maritime, Madeline was the state champion wrestler for the state of Washington. So without further ado, I'm pleased to invite Cadet Madeline Wolchko to address us on the cadet view of e-navigation.